Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another vocal live hang. Gee, I do it every time, don't I? I do. I do it every time. Welcome back to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. Today we are going to do a Q&A. And thank you, Rebecca, in the live chat for asking after how I'm feeling. Am I feeling much better? Compared to where I was a week ago and where I was compared to a week ago before that, I'm a lot better. As you can hear in my voice, I'm still recovering. So I haven't done any tests because there hasn't been a need to, but I'm kind of half convinced I've had COVID. The recovery is very much in keeping with that. The symptoms have been in keeping with that. And so I suspect that's what I've had. I suspect that's what my wife has had, Jody. And so we are still in the recovery phase. Much better than we were, thank you. But getting there. So again, accordingly, I think today's hangout will be a shorter one than usual, and because my voice, I've already had 3 sessions this morning, and I've got another 3 to go this afternoon, and so I've got to continue to manage my voice. This is what we do as singers, as professional voice users. You know, sometimes the show must go on, but one has to manage your voice use in those moments when our voice is less than we would ideally want it to be. So there you go. We've got as I said, we're going to do a Q&A. I've already got one question in the chamber ready to go from Erwin from last week, so we'll get to that in a moment. Before, let me just quickly tell you what's happening over the next few weeks. Next week is my studio break here, and so there will be no hangout next week, and so just heads up, no live hangout next week. That being said, the week after that we'll be coming back for a mini topic. The week after that, it's either going to be a guest or a live reaction. I'm waiting on the response from a guest as to whether they, anyway, it'll be this, that, or something else. We'll find out once we get there. But anyway, in 2 weeks' time we'll have a mini topic, and I am looking forward to doing another live reaction video. As I've said to you, I've started as a part of my review videos, the reaction videos, to implement some pitch analysis with Melodyne, and I've just invested in a brand new version of what's a program called Voce Vista. It's a spectrum analysis software. It allows us to really dig deep into not only pitch but also resonance. And so I'm hoping that brings a whole other facet to the live reactions as we go along. And I've already done a few pre-record reaction videos which won't go live until December, with that sort of deeper dive into that level of analysis. But we might be able to play with that in the next live reaction video and see how we go in playing with that excuse me, aspect of it. And so in one sense, we as a community, I think we'll get to explore the benefits of that deeper dive into vowels and resonance and pitch accuracy and all of that using that software, but certainly before December, which will be good. I'm hoping. let's look, oh, we do have a poll running on. Erwin, I've just seen you jump into the live chat. Just to let you know, Erwin, I am going to get to your question from last week in a moment, so stay tuned for that. We've had 8 votes so far. Wow. The results are super interesting. I'm not going to tell you anything. We'll look at that at the very end of the show. What most shapes your unique sound? 4 options. My life experiences, my technical training, my favorite artists, or my emotional expression. I saw Rebecca's comment before saying, once again, it could be all 4. Yes, it could. Absolutely, and I think for most of us it would. What I'm asking you is what most shapes. Which if you had, had a mic held to your head instead of a gun, had a mic held to your head, which one would you have to choose? And I can tell you, I'm really interested with the results thus far. Really interesting. So we'll come back to those in a minute. Make sure you throw your questions into the live chat for those of you who are watching live, so that we have some questions to answer. That would be good, given that we're doing a Q&A today. Let's dive into Erwin's question from last week. He's written, "Hi Dan, hope you're great." I'm getting there, Erwin. I am getting there. How can I give more resonance to high notes? A low larynx, soft palate, maybe a formant. I want more power without yelling. Thank you very much, TYVM. Okay, so low larynx would not be my option. The soft palate, is there going to be a need for any action there? Not with the answer that I'm going to give, but maybe a formant is. So really the resonance strategy that I'd be encouraging to facilitate higher notes is twang. We've discussed twang at length here on the channel, and Erwin, you can go and check out our videos where we go into a deep dive look at twang in the pre-record videos on the channel. But twang, and in fact, I was just teaching a lesson to one of my students. I think he's from Texas. Rebecca, aren't you from Texas? Anyway, I think my student this morning, who would it be for him evening, is from Texas. We were talking about twang, and I was making the point with him that twang is not register dependent. That is, that we can activate the clear focused resonance of twang across our registers. Does it have to mold and morph as you travel along your registers? Yes, it does. But nonetheless, that clear focused resonance, which does give us a significant singer's formant through between 2.8 to 3.2 kilohertz, is going to give you that clear resonance for high notes. It will in part be slightly different to, how it sounds in your lower register, but in your upper register, Erwin, I think the twang will be beneficial as well. And so I'd be encouraging you to look into that. Jump over to the channel, have a watch of the videos about twang. Twang, I went on to explain to my student this morning, twang has had a rather bad rap over the years. The person that really brought it, the terminology of twang, of the term twang, really brought that label into common parlance was a lady, she's passed now. Her name was Jo Estelle. and she sort of has, well, there's a whole association called the Estelle method that was born out of her leadership and continues to this day. And twang was always about being a resonance strategy. It received a bit of a bad rap, particularly in the early 2000s, when a lot of classical singing teachers, I think, started to observe that the students employing twang were getting a lot of constriction. You know, the voice was locking up when twang was being implemented. But that was because twang, in my humble opinion, twang was being employed on the top of a lot of high-level pressure, in keeping with classical tuition. Classical tuition tends to have higher breath pressure levels than does contemporary. The key factor of good contemporary twang is how little air it uses. It's all about reducing the air pressure, and I did a lot of work with my student this morning on that very point. We really went about looking to significantly reduce air pressure, and my comment to him this morning was, and when you think you've reduced your air pressure, reduce it some more. And I left him with the adage over the next few weeks for his practice: less is more. And so it's always an important point around the use of twang. It is and the other thing to be said about twang is, whilst it is defined as a clear, focused resonance, and when you watch the videos, Erwin, you will find that it also is not nasality. That's an important point. But the main benefit of twang, I think, is found in its efficiency. Yes, it does give us a clear, focused resonance, but more importantly, it's highly efficient. And efficiency, particularly for working singers who are regularly having to use their voice a lot, efficiency is everything. And so something for you, Erwin, to give some thought to, and I want you to go and have a watch of those videos, which would be good. I've just seen Rebecca's comment that yes, she is. I have a chance to win to sing our national anthem here in Sherman, Texas. There you go. So I'm fairly confident he's in Texas. I teach people from all over the world, and I do lose track of who I'm teaching where. Not who I'm teaching. I'm always got good track of who I'm teaching. It's just that where are they from? America and Canada are big places, which is where a lot of my international students come from. Whoa, we've got a few questions coming in here. Excuse me. Apologies for my coughing. We're going to give the first question to Linda today, just simply because we know. I mean, Linda is deserving of a question. Here we go. So the first question today is going to come from Linda. I have a question. What tech advice do you give to rookie singers? Apart from knowing how to hold the mic, how much should we know these days? There is so much tech. Oh, Linda. Yes, there is so much tech. I think that when we're first working as a rookie, to use your terminology, Linda, I think the first key point I always give is start simple. Do not try and dive into vocal processing and all of that to start. It's far better for you to, and let's talk about the idea that you are perhaps wanting to invest in a microphone or a small PA system that allows you to, at the very least, practice at home. in a scenario that gives you the opportunity to practice like you will perform, you want to make sure you buy. I'm personal, and it's all got to be driven by budget, and our budgets are all very different, aren't they? Our personal finance, financial, socioeconomic situations are so different, and so you always have to contextualize it to your situation. But I always encourage people to buy, when it comes to audio gear, buy the best quality gear that you can for what you can afford. Now, the reason I always encourage that is because when you buy good quality music gear, it will last. I'm talking microphones, amps, and so there is a strata of gear that you can buy. So I'll give you an example. Case in point. This weekend, I invested in these. These are a headphone, mixing headphones. And some of you may know I've been spending a lot of time recently developing my skills around mixing my own live performances and some pre-recorded, because I wanted to stop outsourcing that area because it was becoming costly and time consuming. The ironic thing about that is it's probably cost me far more for in-housing it purely on the basis of the amount of money I've spent on gear. Now, these headphones here, these are what are called Stephen Slate Audio VSX headphones. I got them, fortunately, I got them $200 off. They were on a sale, so that was pleasing. But they were still $700. Then they're not cheap. But equally, so I could spend, for mixing headphones, you could spend $250 and really get quality headphones. These also come with room emulation, which is sort of hard to tell you what that is without showing it to you, but it kind of emulates recording spaces. They're very cool. But these headphones, so as I said, they cost, $700, normally $900. But here's the point. You can spend $5,000 on headphones. There is some Yamaha sets, and I think Sennheiser might have $5,000. I am never going to, number one, have the budget, nor number two, have the what's the right word? Have the necessity to spend that kind of dollar. Now, if I were a mixing engineer and that was what I did for a job, I could probably justify $5,000. I can't. So I spent really good money, but not $5,000. You have to apply the same rule to whatever you're doing, because you've got to use your money wisely. So you buy the best that you can for what you can afford for the purpose that you are going to do. That's number one. Number two, I think that's number two. Number one was start simple. Think about what do you need? Well, to start with, you probably only need a relative quality microphone. So don't buy a toy. So you buy quality, professional quality, according to your budget. A microphone, a lead, a fold-back wedge of some description that allows the sound to come back at you. And then once you bed that knowledge down and that skill down in how to use that well, and that can take you a few months, then you could get into thinking about vocal processing, something like a TC Helicon Voice 3 or whatever, where you can add harmonies and compression and all of those things. And so always take it step by step. Finally, Linda, what I do encourage people to do though is don't be scared of the tech. It is it's a deep hole. It's a very deep hole. But don't be scared of it. I'm a great believer in you start to use it, and then you'll learn it. This stuff is not rocket science. You know, it is within for most of us, we are going to be able to use the tech. You know, there was once upon a time when all of us didn't know how to use a mobile phone, when the funny thing about a mobile, it's high tech. But now most of us are completely au fait with using our mobile phone. Some of us more than others, and I'm recognizing there's a level there, but equally, most of us can. Why? Because we're kind of caused to by the reality that we have to in modern age. Well, approach your music tech with the same thing. Get in, enjoy it, make mistakes with it, and in the process, you will learn how to use the tech. And so, Linda, I hope that's helpful. And Linda, I see your comment there. I see your comment there, Linda. I'm going to put your comment up because I disagree with you, Linda. I am a technophobe. No, well, you might be afraid of technology, but I've seen you come onto our individual lessons and you have your gear set up. You further give yourself some credit. Give yourself some credit. Let me come down here and find Rebecca's question, where she's. I think you might, Rebecca. What are you saying here? Haven't heard a song from you, Dr. Dan, in a while. Are you recording anything else? Rebecca, what I'm doing currently, I'm kind of and this purely comes down to a time issue, in part. When I lead at my church on a Sunday, I record the audio, my vocal and my guitar. And what I'm doing is I bring that recording home and I am learning, I'm diving in. I'm doing exactly what I'm encouraging you to do with tech. I've chosen not to be scared of the recording world. It's a whole other world. And I am mixing those down and wanting to develop my skills and improve. And those particular videos, because I'm then producing them into a video, they're not actually good enough, to be honest with you. They're not really good enough to be released. It's not the singing part, it's the mixing part. I'm such a learner. And when I say a newbie learner, very new, very green. And so the quality of the recordings is not great. But I force myself to produce a video. So I'm creating lyric videos, and I just have a slow-mo thing. You can see these if you look up the Daniel K project on YouTube. You will find my channel, and what I do is I force myself, and this is a discipline thing. I force myself to produce something. I have a very sober judgment of the quality that I'm producing. But for me right now, that's not the point. The point for me is the learning. And I want to learn by producing. And so that's where you'll find. And in fact, I actually shared one of my most recent recordings. It was the song What a Beautiful Name. Rebecca, you might know it. It's a Hillsong piece. I shared that into the Voice Essentials community. Got some great feedback, particularly from Kathy, who was so on point with her feedback and her critique of what I'd originally shared that it caused me to go back, remix it in such a way as to improve it. all of that journey has brought me to buying these headphones, because part of the mixing process is hearing what you are mixing and hearing it really well, so that when you finally, hit export, it translates, and you can't do that if you're not hearing the mix well as you're mixing. Anywho, I hope that answered your question, Rebecca. I am actually recording, but I'm taking my time with it, and hopefully, and because I'm a great believer that I will improve. When I think about my journey here at Voice Essentials, I got a new question here from some Walkle Thoughts. Warwiku, how do I pronounce that middle name? I'm a great believer, as I observe my journey here on Voice Essentials. If we were to go back and watch my very first, 2 or 3 years of doing these live hangouts, man, I've had a lot to learn. Now I continue to learn. Just this week, someone gave some feedback on one of the live reaction videos and pointed out that the audio was coming through as mono, not stereo. And I went and checked, and I went, they're right. Once again, there's something I've learned, and so I'm a great believer in learning as you go, or continuing to be open to learning, never finding that one's arrived, but to learn that way, you have to do, and and so that's what I'm doing with my mixing and recording. I'm doing so that I'm learning. I hope that's I like to think that's a good thing to be doing. So some Warwiku Thoughts. Hi, Sir Dan, I'm 17. We were all 17 once. That's a long time ago. Oh dear. For me, that was 17. I think that was 1990. And starting singing. So can you please tell me, what should I focus on? It will come as no surprise, SWT. I'm just going to call you SWT. That I am so encouraging of development of technique. Technique, when stylistically appropriate to what you do with your voice, technique is so important in establishing foundation in the way you use it, and producing better outcome for down the track as you start to really develop your skill around style and performance, and it's also important around the health of your voice, and you can damage your voice physically. The biology of your voice, the pathology of your voice can be actually harmed in the process of singing if you're not doing it correctly. And so technique is the first thing I would have you to focus on, SWT. And I would encourage you to jump in and have a look at the Voice Essentials online courses. And I think you'll find that'll step you through step by step, and you'll be able to develop those skills that you really need. And so just look voiceessentials.com.au. If you look at that, no, where is it? There, this thing here. What do we call that? A QR code. Click on that, or use the URL and go and check that out. Check out the courses. Grab the Pro bundle, and just work systematically. Start the journey. Systematically work through the process and the journey that I've laid out, and you'll definitely get benefit from that. I've got Mr. Fomiati's got a good question here, and then I've got another question here from Kenneth, and then we're going to call it because my voice is doing what you'd expect to be doing after having had COVID. Starting to tire. Mr. Fomiati is saying live sound can be challenging. Yeah, it can. Do you have any tips and tricks regarding EQ on vocals? Typically in a live sound space, what we're wanting to do is bring the vocals out to the front of the mix. One of the best ways to do that is to try and give often on your sound desk you'll have a little EQ, some EQ options, and you want to try to lift around about 3,000 hertz, and try to peak, lift those, bump them up. When we're playing with EQ, all we're doing is actually it's a volume switch, but for a specific frequency. The reason we want to EQ the 3,000 hertz, that's where twang sits, right? So the benefit of twang is it activates that area, which is why we call it a resonance strategy. When we do it on a desk, it is actually the where our ear is mostly tuned to. It'll really cut through a mix. Classical singers have been using it. It is produced differently by classical singers. They call it squillo, or the singer's formant, and it's what allows a classical singer to cut through an entire orchestra because it sits right on that 3K mark, and or ish, not right on 3,000, but ish, and so that's what I'd encourage you to do. And then beyond that, then just go looking to tweak it. Every voice is so different, right? My voice does need a bit more bottom end in a live scenario. Why? Because I don't have a lot of bottom end in my natural sound, and so I know that often the sound engineer will have to give my voice a little bit of a bump in that area. Let's come up to Kenneth's question now. Kenneth has asked, this is actually, before we go to Kenneth, I really want to highlight what Karen from Singwise has said. For those in the US, I highly recommend talking to an expert at Sweetwater. Let them know your tech needs and they'll point you in the right direction. They're very knowledgeable. Not to give a shout out to Sweetwater specifically. This is not a sponsored show. But I want to actually generalize and support Karen's thoughts on this. Really important to go to a pro audio store. In the US, Sweetwater is a good example of this. A pro audio store, and they are generally facilitated, the staff are generally really well trained in understanding pro audio gear, and you'll find that most good pro audio stores are going to give you really good encouragement and good knowledge around that. Final question. Thanks, Karen, for that. Was really good. Finally, hello, Dr. Dan. This is Kenneth. Kenneth, I think you might be. Are you new to our whereabouts? Do you know, I always get nervous when I say, are you new? Are you a first-time caller? That kind of vibe. I always get nervous that I've actually answered your questions before and you're not new. So, Kenneth, if you're not new, I apologize. It can be hard for me to keep up with the people who interact. I have a question. People have told me my singing voice sounds good, but I just can't hear it myself. Is there any way to get over this, or does it just fade over time? Okay. I wonder whether you're asking, but I just can't hear it myself. Are you asking that I just can't hear the quality that people are saying is there? Or are you saying you just can't hear the level of your own voice? I'm going to go with the first one, the way you've worded that. Oh, and Kenneth, you're saying, yes, sir, I'm new, but I've watched your videos the last year and they've helped me. Oh, I'm so pleased. Um, um, it's not an unusual thing for us as singers to struggle to engage and be positive around our own voice, particularly when we're starting. Case in point, and you can see this comment that I've left. Remember, I said I've shared a video onto the Voice Essentials Facebook group, which you can be a part of, Kenneth, if you're not already. And one of the critiques that Kathy came back to me with was that she didn't feel like my voice was loud enough in the mix. And my response to her, and you can see my comments in the chat, was that actually I kind of felt like they were too loud already. And she was saying, no, they need to be louder. That partly could be, as I said, me not having the right mixing set up at the time for me to hear that. But equally, and Kathy made a really great point, and I think it speaks to what you're asking here, Kenneth, is that equally we are more reserved with hearing our own sound. We're less given to being, comfortable with hearing ourselves and what have you. I'm not, to your question, does this fade over time? I'm not uncomfortable with hearing my own sound. I'm reconciled to this is me, and whilst I continue to develop, it is nonetheless currently what I got. But equally, there perhaps is a slight psychology of going on there that Kathy has called out, saying, no, come on, we want to hear the voice out front a bit more. And so, yes, it does fade over time, but that fading, I think, we still need to have those external to us. In my case, it was Kathy. In your case, it will be trusted friends and colleagues and family who we trust, we rely on, we listen to and go, they're telling me it sounds good. I'm going to take that at face value and go, okay, it sounds good. How can I further develop that to really see myself reconcile that knowledge and feel comfortable that, that the voice is, in fact, worthy to be heard. And, if your friends and family are telling you that it is, then it almost certainly is. And I'd be encouraging you to lean into that. We are going to, as I said to you, we are going to call it. I've gone much longer than I'd intended to. I thought it only last about 30 minutes today with my voice being the way it is. But I do need to end the poll, don't I? Before we go anywhere, just very quickly, if you haven't already voted on the poll, you need to do so right now, because otherwise you're not going to get to vote. I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Poll is closed. Let's have a look at the results. So the results for today's question was, what most shapes your unique sound? Now remember, I said to you that it was things were really interesting. When I first was looking at it, there had been half the amount of votes, and it was 2 apiece, like it was 25% across the board, which was really interesting. That's changed slightly. Life experiences, followed by my favorite artist. That's interesting. I'll be honest and tell you, I thought that would be the lowest. So that's interesting. Do you know what I think? I think that answer, I think we'd have to all recognize that we are influenced by the sound around us generationally and stylistically. And so that, I think perhaps whoever's answered my favorite artist is probably acknowledging that and recognizing that, then the technical training, and then emotional expression. So there you go. It's been a good hangout. Dean, thank you. Thanks for the well wishes with my health. And in fact, I just want to say I was wondering why why that was there. I'm just having a look at something. For some reason, my name popped up in the system that I've got here, and I wondered why that was. I think that's just because I hit the thing. The poll. Can I just, as we finish, and remember next week we don't have a show, okay? So we'll be back in 2 weeks. I've got a studio break. I'm going to go and see my son, which will be great. I just want to give a shout out to ones like Dean, and Linda and Mila, and there's a whole range of people who are active members of the channel, and a special thank you to all of you who support the channel on that regular basis. When you become a member, a premium member of the channel, not only do you get early access to all of the pre-record videos, and as you know, I'm 6 months ahead in my schedule. So you basically get the pre-record videos up to 6 months in advance. But also you get access to all of the webinars that we've done, and they're exclusive videos. You cannot access them in that format any other way, even through the Pro bundle. Someone asked me the other day, do you get access if you got the Pro bundle? No. The only way to get access to that growing list, and I think there's over 20 already, the only way to get access to those is to become a member of the channel. And that's my way of saying thank you for supporting the channel with that small monetary thing. So please consider being a member if you haven't. And a special thank you to ones like Dean, and Linda, and Kelly, and Mila, and there's a few others who are supporters of the channel in that way. Thank you for hanging out with me today. It is likely that in 2 weeks' time I will be in much, much better condition than I've been the last couple of weeks, and I do thank you for your thoughts and prayers over the last couple of weeks as I've been recovering. And I do look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks, when we will, as I said, we'll likely be doing a mini topic. That'll be the 14th of July. Before you sign off, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. I'm Dr. Dan.